Yes? Okay, perfect. Thank you. We do have agendas in the back table where the sign-in sheet was if y'all wish to have one.
1, 2. Check, check.
Hello, there we go. Okay, jeez. Anyway, it's been a long day, and I thank all the members who trudged through it. We learned a lot, and it was fun. It was a long day. So we will start our agenda. This is the Volusia Echo Advisory Committee meeting, grant tour and eligibility meeting. It's Thursday, January 25th, and right now it's 3 o'clock. No, that's not 3 o'clock, 3:45. And we will call the meeting to order. And I provided a welcome. And this says roll call for tours. What does that mean? What do I have to do there?
You have to go down to number 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's what I'm tired. Okay. We will, I understand. That was the first part of the meeting. All right. Okay. So we will do a roll call right now for the eligibility meeting. And who's going to, Jill, are you handling that?
Pat Northey,
Here.
Jay Pendergast,
Here.
Jeffrey Alt,
Here.
Pat Drago,
Here.
John Macaluso,
Here.
Stephanie Mason Teague,
Here.
Pat Patterson is out, Reggie Santilli,
Here.
Dwight Selby.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And I think we did this before, but we'll do it again. Approval of the January 11th, 2024 minutes. Did everybody have a chance to read them? And are there any corrections? If not, we will file them as they are written. Seeing no corrections, we'll file them. Okay, thank you. And then we'll move on to our staff with Echo and who will, what's public, why did I miss it? I missed it the last time. Is there any public participation? Do I have any yellow slips for public participation? No? Okay. Okay, so we'll go to item 5, which is our 2024 ECHO grant application eligibility determination. And just for the record, I don't know whether staff wants to address this now or later, we had a problem with recording the minutes at the City of DeBerry, which is a little bit further down. Do we want to talk about that when we get to the City of DeBerry?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can bring that up when it gets
Okay.
there.
All right. So if you will walk us through what our expectations are to do today, and then we'll start with the Seville Village Improvement Association.
Yeah, so I'll be introducing each grant as we go, giving kind of a brief overview as well as the ECHO request and a total match request. And then you guys will give your comments, and then we will give an eligibility vote either up or down on the project.
And will the ECHO grant applicant have an opportunity to answer questions?
That's what they're here for.
Okay, because I did not see that on here. I saw member comments, but I guess it comes under member comments. Okay.
I believe everyone's here, so.
Yes, we would ask that during committee comments that the applicants come sit in the first row so they're available for questions.
Okay, so Seville Village Improvement Association, come on down.
Yep, so this is Seville Village Improvement Association. The project is the historic Seville School restoration. The ECHO request is $214,779 with a total match of $218,529. And this application is for the restoration and preservation of the 1914 historic Seville School.
Okay. Are there questions from the committee directed to the applicant? Okay, so I see none that we have questions for. Okay, so we go to eligibility vote, and that
Yes.
is a, for the
And-
record vote,
Yep, it's just
Okay.
an up or down vote.
up or down. Does everybody understand what we're doing? Okay. Okay, Jill, you want to call the,
Jeffrey Alt,
I don't know, do we need to make a motion?
Do we need
Yes,
to make a
please.
motion to do that?
Yeah, that's fine. So we say motion every time, but yes.
Okay, yeah, I move that Seville Village Improvement Association be deemed eligible for their grant.
Your second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, and we'll take a voice vote. We're not a voice vote, we'll take a roll call vote. So,
Pat Drago, John Macaluso, Stephanie Mason Teague,
Yes.
Pat Northey,
yes.
Pat Patterson is out, Reggie Santilli,
Yes.
Dwight Selby.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm a yes
No.
too, because you asked me before.
Made the motion.
Okay.
How about
Jill,
Jay?
Jill, you forgot me.
Jay Pendrick, yes.
Yes, you did. And the
Jay
answer's still-
Pendergast,
Okay. All right. So, where'd they go? Down here. Hey, Mike. Congratulations. You are eligible to move forward. Okay. Okay. We will move to the City of Ormond Beach. This is a sports complex softball quad installation of LED lighting. And I don't know who came up with these titles, but boy, they are a mouthful. Where are they? Come on down.
Yep, so City of Ormond Beach Sports Complex softball quad installation of LED lighting. The ECHO request is $456,479 with a total cash match of $456,480. This application is for the installation of LED lights in the softball quad. Each of the 4 fields has 32 lights and 2 security lights that will be replaced with LED lighting.
Okay. Are there any advisory board comments or questions for this?
I just have one comment on LED lighting. Keep pushing the LED lighting. What a difference it makes. Huge difference.
And Daniel, is there anything that you need to add as far as staff on this, yes or an up or down vote? Okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. With that, I'll take a motion for approval or not approval. of
Madam
this.
Chairman, I'd like to move approval of the Ormond Beach grant request.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. We have a motion to approve in a second, and we'll take a vote on that. Advisory, and there are no advisory committee member comments that I see, so we'll go to a vote.
Jeffrey Alt,
Yes.
Pat Drago, John Macaluso, Stephanie Mason Teague,
Yes.
Pat Northey,
Yes.
Jay Pendergast,
Yes.
Reggie Santilli,
Yes.
Dwight Selby.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. You all are eligible. Congratulations. We'll look forward to working with you. Okay, we'll go
And-
to City of Ormond Beach Nova Community Park Fields 2 through 5 improvements. And before we go to comments, is there a motion that someone wants to make before we go to comments? Otherwise, Mr. Patterson will have my head.
Yeah, just let me introduce the project, Pat, and
Okay.
give the dollar amount and stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm tired.
So
I'm
this
sorry.
is,
I'm tired.
and I'll just do that moving on as we move on to each
Okay.
project. I'll take that from you. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
City of Ormond Beach, Nova Community Park, Fields 2 through 5 improvements. The ECHO request is $216,326. The total cash match is also $216,326. This application is to improve 4 existing baseball, softball fields at the Nova Community Park. And this project will convert Field 2 from a softball field into a baseball field and then improve Fields 3 through 5.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I'd like to move that we determine that the City of Ormond Beach Nova Community Park Fields 2 through 5 improvements be deemed eligible.
Is there a second to that
I'll
motion?
second the motion.
Motion seconded, and I'll now go to advisory committee member comments or questions.
I did have one question that I had forgotten to ask. The clay is going to be replaced or just more clay added on top of the existing?
Could you,
Stephen Sibley, Deputy Director, City of Ormond Beach. It will be replaced. The intention is to remove the top level, to build that level back up, and then replace the clay.
Will it be recycled? I'm asking, sometimes the horse facilities use the recycled clay in their footing, and I don't know if a recycled clay had been investigated.
Our consultant from Zev Cohen would like to recommend that. So, okay.
Okay?
other questions or comments? Okay, we will take a recorded ballot on this one, please.
Jeffrey Alt,
Yes.
Pat Drago,
Yes.
John Macaluso, Stephanie Mason Teague,
Yes.
Pat Northey,
Yes.
Jay Pendergast,
Yes.
Reggie Santilli,
Yes.
Dwight Selby.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Staff?
All right, we are moving on
Patience, guys.
to the City of Port Orange. This is the City Center Playground Improvement Project. The ECHO request is $200,000. The total match is $205,500. This project will improve an existing playground by installing ADA accessible equipment and constructing a new covered pavilion.
And we'll go to a motion first. I think there's some questions on this one based on what we heard at the meeting. So do we want to take questions first and get that cleared up? I'll start.
Okay.
Your pavilion issue is not designed, as I understand it.
Sure.
And would staff give us a recommendation on that, please?
So the recommendation to the advisory committee council was the playground portion of the project meets ECHO requirements and will be eligible for funding. However, the application is deemed incomplete by staff and not eligible for standard grant funding due to the lack of required information and documents on the pavilion.
On the pavilion, okay. Do you want to add anything about that before
Sure,
we-
absolutely. Peter Ferreira, Deputy Director, Parks and Recreation, City of Port Orange. Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. So as stated today during the tour, we typically like to go out for design builds for our playground projects and not your standard RFP where they're submitting bids and then we just go with the lowest bid. So we typically like to go out with the total amount of money that we have for the project and then have the companies come back and actually submit designs to us, and then we have a committee that will select the design that way. And we typically feel that we get more bang for our buck that way, and so that's why an actual design was not provided ahead of time.
you had offered, if there was not support for that, that you would withdraw that part of the application. Is that still, are you still offering that?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, and please explain, you said this was a denial from the staff?
No, we did not deny the project. We said that it meets requirements and would be eligible for funding. We just were missing that portion, the grant. They lacked the information and documentation for the pavilion at that time when they
Do
submitted.
you now have that? Did we get that?
Well, what's in our application is a picture of a pavilion that we would like to have in the project. It is not engineered or designed, again, because of our RFP process. It's also difficult for us in Port Orange. I'd be violating our purchasing policies to submit an actual street-ready RFP. So we're not able to do that because I need to know the total amount before I am able to actually draft one. The RFP that you have in there is pretty close to being ready, but without all the details, it is not an actual street-ready RFP. It is more of a draft.
Okay.
And then just for the record, if removing the pavilion is what we're moving forward with, that would reduce the ask of close to around $100,000.
Is there a motion?
I just have a question. When you do design build, and I guess as much of the staff as it is of you, if we had closer specifications on what the pavilion would be so that we would be more assured as to what the product would that meet a staff concern for future design build projects? Question I have.
Yes. So typically if we get a, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
That would. And essentially, we want to know what our investment is going to pay for. We need some more data in terms of what the footprint looks like, how big it would be, before we're asking you to make a recommendation to County Council. Sometimes there's been conceptual drawings in previous. Rob Sullivan Park was an example of a design build that we did and this committee approved, but it had some drawings associated with it because you need those when you go out to bid.
I'm thinking footprint specifications, height, et cetera, and then you go for the design build. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Alt?
Yeah, I can't support this moving forward without that removal because those are the rules of ECHO. We spent a lot of time making recommendations, getting all of this done. So,
Okay. Is there, do you want to make a motion, Les? Are you okay with the first part of it?
I'm okay with the first part of it. I would like to ask, I guess, the attorney, what
Yeah.
Sorry, we're conferring over here. You can make a recommendation to council that a project be approved in a certain manner. In this case, without the pavilion portion, the 100,000 instead of the 200,000, that sort of thing. You really can't change it at this stage. It's not a thing the ECHO committee can do. You can't change a project. You can make a recommendation that council consider or approve a project that has been altered by them, and of course in coordination with the city. So you can make a motion to recommend a...
Good luck with that one.
So we're dancing around the rule. The rules essentially say that once it's submitted and it's the final review, you cannot make changes to it. So what we would do is if you think it's a worthwhile project, just the playground, we would take a recommendation to County Council and help them understand you cannot make changes. However, ECHO committee thought it was a worthwhile project. They voted to approve the playground portion because the required documents were not in place for the other portion.
Okay, so then when would they resubmit, I guess, the financials to see when what would we actually be matching? What would our total be?
We would ask them to update it for the grant review panel if that's the recommendation of the committee.
So for February when we...
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So they would need to have that information in place by February. Is that what I hear you saying, Dr. Burball?
The updated budget by February.
Okay.
We're not giving them more time to do to provide the missing documents.
Okay.
If your recommendation is to fund the playground portion, an updated budget is what we would need for council.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so I move that we approve for eligibility, the city center playground improvements, the playground portion of the project, and ask the applicant to bring us a new updated budget without the pavilion for the February review meeting.
Does that pass muster with the attorney? Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Let's have some comment on that if the council, excuse me, if the committee cares to comment. This is the time. Is there any comment on the motion? Okay, I don't see any, so if you will call the roll, please.
Jeffrey Alt,
Yes.
Pat Drago,
Yes.
John Macaluso, Stephanie Mason Teague,
Yes.
Pat Northey,
Yes.
$3,850. And this application is to expand an existing skate park by adding an additional 8,000 square feet with various skate features that includes skate stairs, jersey barriers, ledges, rails, and other street skate elements.
Okay, where's the staff? Okay, you're here. Okay. Do you have anything you want to add before I? Okay. Advisory committee member comments, or do we hear any, or do I have a motion?
Well, I'll make a comment. I have a real problem with all of these design build things as much as I support all of these different communities and outside, because you really don't know what you're getting. Eventually, I mean, they will get a project finished, but you know, they're going to change budgets, do this, do that. You know, it's just, and there's two or three there's today with this design build, and I'll vote yes today, but I'm not going to give them a high rating when we get to the final review, because I just don't think design build is a real clear use of public dollars.
And I think there's a couple of us that are questioning all that, and we probably need to talk about that when we for next time. Does that make sense to everybody? Get clarification on that issue. We're all good with that? Mm-hmm. Okay. With that in mind, do you want to make any kind of a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the City of New Smyrna Beach skate park expansion
As eligible.
as eligible.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I just would like to say I appreciate the architect's comments. One of the reasons that you have field experts on panels like this is because they can lead the rest of the committee on issues specifically like this. So, you know, a lot of this is confusing to me too, and I've been involved with a lot of different projects. So I agree that we need to address this issue at our April meeting, probably.
Okay. Are you going to make a second on that, Mr. Alt?
I'll second that.
Okay. Okay. Let's have any other comments? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote.
Jeffrey Alt,
Yes.
Pat Drago,
Yes.
John Macaluso, Stephanie Mason Teague,
Yes.
Pat Northey,
Yes.
Jay Pendergast,
Yes.
Reggie Santilli,
Yes.
Dwight Selby.
Yes.
Okay, the item is deemed eligible to come back here for final review and then to go to council based on that. Okay, we'll move to the City of Edgewater.
All right, next is City of Edgewater. It is for the pickleball courts and amenities project. The ECHO request is $600,000. They have a total match of $704,927, as well as unencumbered cash match of $418,753, a land match of $150,000, and then they also have previously spent cash of $136,174. This application is to construct the first ever pickleball courts in Edgewater at Hawks Park Complex. The proposed project will include 4 standard pickleball courts, a parking lot with 40 spaces, a stormwater management pond, landscaping, and an ADA sidewalk.
And the recommendation from staff?
The recommendation to the ECHO Advisory Committee was as presented. This application and project meet the County Council approved requirements for standard grant funding.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions or a motion?
I'll make a motion, we move the Edgewater pickleball court project.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second, and any other questions? Otherwise, we'll go to a vote.
I did have one
Okay.
comment.
Stephanie?
The area is quite large. I am looking at my notes of 26 acres, and it looked like phase 1 was 4 courts and phase 2 was 4 courts, but that there wasn't an approved master plan. And I think I would find that interesting, and how the phases would be utilized in the master plan of the whole area, if there was a larger plan for the use of the other acreage, and how that would contribute to the public use.
Great. My name is Samantha Bergeron. For the record, I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Edgewater. Thank you for your question. With the master plan, are you talking about the master plan for the stormwater to be able to handle all of the additional paving that would go along as we expand the pickleball courts, the pavilions, and the additional parking? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, the flooding down there, I think, was mentioned while we were on the tour, and the area in question was just a small portion of the area. So,
Correct.
would that include a plan for further use?
Yes, ma'am, it sure does. And that was something when we were working with Mead and Hunt, the consultant that we hired, the engineering firm, to design the entire project. The stormwater pond that you see on the plan actually accommodates all of the future expansion that we would be doing on that site, because that particular site where the pickleball courts, it's 7 acres of the total 26. So there is also that G2, G11 stormwater canal system that runs from the Gabordi Canal south, and the city has already received DEO grants to improve that storm water drainage as well. So it's all kind of coming together in a perfect storm. So there is a plan. There's bits and pieces, but the stormwater pond that you see on site that was with the plans that we approved or we submitted, I apologize, it is large enough capacity to be able to handle all of this future development as we add parking in the future. I wanted to make sure that was a big sticking point when we were working with Mead and Hunt, to make sure that that capacity is handled for future as we go forward and add more parking and so forth.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, could we have a vote, roll call vote, please?
Jeffrey Alt,
Yes.
Pat Drago,
Yes.
John Macaluso, Stephanie Mason Teague,
Yes.
Pat Northey,
Yes.
Jay Pendergast,
Yes.
Reggie Santilli,
Yes.
Dwight Selby.
Yes.
Okay. And I understand we had, thank you. Good luck, Edgewater. If you would introduce this next item, and then also talk about the...
Yes. So next is the City of DeBerry Alexander Island Park project. When we went out to today for the tour of Alexander Island, the recorder, for some reason, the button was hit and did not record the whole 15 minutes while we were out there. I didn't notice it until we were heading to the next facility. So
Okay.
kind of just a little hiccup today.
So
If you don't
I'd like
mind,
to
let me
go
jump
to
in
the
for a second,
attorney.
lawyer here. Laura Coleman. If you don't mind, City of DeBerry, I hate to ask you to do this, but just to make sure our minutes are accurate, would you mind giving us a brief synopsis of kind of what we went over on site, just to make sure that it's on the record? And I also understand that you have a couple more things you'd like to address, so maybe after you give that synopsis, this might be a good time to ask the
Come on
commission or
down,
the
Carmen.
committee if they'd like to talk to you about that.
Thank you. My name is Carmen Rosamonda, City Manager of DeBerry. Basically, the 15 minutes, when you tour 170 acres really fast in 15 minutes, it was basically just showing the committee where the historic oak hammock was and where the trails are going to be. We gave each member the concept plan that was designed by our engineer. And we went through, showed them the prairie, the berm. We walked through the historic oak hammock. We showed them the river. We walked through the areas where the parking lot was, and we went right back to the front there.
Made a loop.
And we just made a big loop around there for 15 minutes.
And I just want to put into the record that the mayor power walked everybody around that loop.
Yes, we did.
I was actually going to ask if you don't mind just putting on the record who was present for the city at that meeting as well. Thank you very much, though.
I was present, Karen Chazet, mayor. When I'm given 15 minutes, we're going to try to meet it.
And I'm Carmen Rosamonda. I was city manager, was there, and our Parks and Recreation Director, Jason Scheitz, was also there as well.
And we had all of our attendees listed, and Mr. Patterson was not listed because he was out that day.
That is
Okay,
correct.
and we have all of our staff listed. Okay. Does that satisfy?
Yes, thank you very much.
everybody?
That clarifies the record. And I also know we've had requests from the city to give you a little more information. So
Okay.
if the committee has questions, this is a good time. And also just if you want to ask them for any more information, this is the time to do it.
Do you want to make your presentation now then?
Do you want me to introduce the project first and give you the numbers?
Good idea.
Okay. Yep. So this is City of DeBerry, Alexander Island Park. The ECHO request is $2.5 million. The total match is $2,505,500. The unencumbered cash match is $1,880,500. And they also have a land match of $625,000. This is also an exceptional grant, so that's why the $2.5 million request. This application is to create Alexander Island Park, a passive park on the St. Johns River. The proposed park will offer public amenities for passive recreation that include paved and unpaved trails, a fishing pier, observation deck, and a kayak launch.
And what was the staff's recommendation?
So the recommendation to the advisory committee was, as presented, the applicant provides evidence of meeting the requirements for exceptional grant funding. For example, the countywide importance criteria is supported by 1, public workshops and online survey, 2, a robust feasibility study, and 3, details about how the project is part of a larger master plan. For the significant number of people served criteria, the applicant provided 1, letters and emails of support from 6 municipalities that indicate a wide variety of county residents that would use the park. 2, a survey of residents from across the county indicating they would use the park as well. 3, a consultant estimated number of visitors was 29,746. And 4, a description of partnerships that will be used to attract a significant number of people to the new facility. However, the application is deemed incomplete by staff and not eligible for exceptional grant funding due to the lack of required information and documents outlined in findings 2 and 3 above. Do you want me to tell you? So finding number 2 was the construction and timeline chart was completed by the applicant, but without the required construction drawings, the timeline is speculative. For example, the timeline chart shows a project completion date of April to June of 27, while the description states that the project will be completed in summer of 25. Finding number 3 was applicant did not submit required construction drawings, but instead submitted a design development drawing. For new construction project, ECHO requires a bid set of architectural and engineering plans which are ready to be used for the procurement process. And this comes straight from the guidebook. This is not a shovel-ready project as required by ECHO guidelines. As a substitute for the construction documents, the applicant has submitted a construction manager at risk, also known as a CMAR, request for qualifications for the project, which would be advertised upon grant approval. CMAR is a project constructing approach which entails a commitment by the construction manager to deliver the project with a guaranteed maximum price, which is based on competitive bids and uses the construction documents as a basis of these bids. However, a CMAR is typically not advertised until the majority of the construction drawings have been completed.
Okay. You're on.
Jason Scheitz here, Parks and Recreation Director for the City of DeBary. So if the county and the committee will allow us, we wanted to address those two findings with some additional information, progress report. We have our consultants here from Kimley Horn, who have been with us on the project from the very beginning with the feasibility study. So I guess I need to ask, are we allowed to pass out this packet to provide that update and talk through it?
If the committee would like to see it, then you are able to do so.
Would you like to see the packet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that permitted at this stage in the process? I'm just asking a question. I'm very new. Is that
Yeah,
permitted?
They're conferring.
Sure, they can present.
Again, the project can't change at this stage, but new information, like additional information, can be presented to you
We're not
if you feel
changing
like you'd like to
anything.
do that.
Thank you. I'm enthusiastic about the project. I just
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so this is Scott Mignonnet. He's our consultant on the project with Kimley Horn and the lead on the design and engineering. So the findings from the county with the construction documents, we talked through this from the beginning that we didn't have a full set, and one of the reasons was that for a project of this scope with 19 items involved, it didn't make sense to have all the final permit set plans up front for the sheer fact that things with this project will need to happen in stages. You know, for instance, one of our main priorities right now at this point in time is getting the property open to the public. And for that to happen, we need to focus on that upland area where we're at during our walkthrough, get the entryway done, get the parking lot done, the park infrastructure, so on and so forth, before we can even think about going into the wetlands and putting up the observation towers, fishing piers, and things of that nature. And along those lines as well, there's additional permitting that's involved in that from the environmental standpoint. So our solution to this was the CMAR RFQ, where essentially we can bring a contractor in at the front end of the project, where the contractor will be involved in the design of the project to ensure that it's done in a timely manner, it stays within budget, and kind of removes the caveat of having change orders and redesigns and budget issues along the way. You know, all of that is negotiated at the front end. And we didn't necessarily agree with the county that, or with the county staff that all the engineered documents need to be in that RFQ to hit the street. There's many ways to do a CMAR RFQ. And I'm going to bring up our consultant here, Scott, and he's going to kind of walk you through that process and give you some examples of several other projects that they've been involved in that are done in the same manner of our project here. And essentially, you know, that's why we provided that solution to this issue, you know, due to the scope and the size and all the different things we have involved in this project. So Scott, he's going to come up and hopefully answer a lot of those questions for you and kind of give you a walkthrough of the progress that we've made on the design that he's handed out to you today.
Thank you, Jason. Scott Mignonnet, Kimley Horn, 200 South Orange Avenue, Orlando. We've been engaged on the master plan throughout this process, and as you can see today through your walkthrough, gorgeous site, one of a kind, unique site. And I think this is the epitome of what the ECHO grant was established for. You talk about ecological, you talk about heritage, you talk about significance. Even going back, and you want to spend 30 minutes in Carmen's office and he'll pull out maps from all over the place talking about the unique character of the property. So that aside, I know you've seen some of those things, besides the other aspects of the grant process itself being outdoor recreation. And we think this is unique enough to be able to think through a couple things. So one, throughout the master planning process, we were pretty robust in the engagement, the community engagement. I think you've heard that from Jason, to hear about, we had at least 450 respondents on active solicitation and engagement throughout that, as well as a huge picnic on site. And it was extremely well received. And you've heard that council, the staff, all in alignment as well. So to address a couple of things. One, on schedule, maybe it was just bad presentation on our part or communication on that. The reason that we had multiple sections of the schedule is because there are environmental sections that we realize that are going to take permitting through the Corps and water management district, and that's the pier, the kayak launch. But we also have upland areas. So what we were intending was to have phases of the upland project be let as money was available, so that we could get probably interaction from residents up to a year earlier. And that's why we were breaking it with 3 projects, but over the course, it might be until 2025. But what we're trying to say, we're going to break them, the upland, the entry. We've already started the design of the entry as a part of the master plan. So the entry drive, the main gate, then would flow right into the parking lot, the upland facilities, the maintenance building, the bathrooms, and then would flow right into the additional sidewalks. So we would let those as we had design documents ready. What you see in front of you today is kind of a stop and plot set with everything a little bit meshed together. We don't have as much detail on the things that would require permitting, like the boardwalks, like the pier, because we're still working through those environmental, and we don't want to do the design until we exactly know where we are with the environmental wetland delineation, some of those things. So that's why you have some of those things. So that was regarding the schedule. As to CM at risk, we're very familiar with CM at risk. We've done multiple projects. I've got a laundry list of things, but the big 3 things that we like about CM at risk is relationship, flexibility, and schedule. The relationship stays so that the city stays in control of the contractor. We are also in alignment with the city in terms of contracts. Under design build, it puts the design underneath the builder, and it sometimes gets out of alignment, probably like you were suggesting in certain things, so that the design can be, reduced as opposed to the master plan that has been shown to the residents, right? And so sometimes the dollar ends up taking the day, as opposed to making sure that we're working in collaboration with the contractors to work through design solutions, getting their feedback on a design assistance to make sure that we're getting the biggest bang for our buck. So we like the alignment, being able to have that. We've done projects, and I give you more history. We've done all 3 phases of Clematis down in West Palm. We finished under schedule, under budget. When has a contractor ever, through that, given you money back, basically, through that process? So we were able to expedite working. Now, that might be a little bit different condition because there were a lot of, not residents, but storefronts, small storefronts that needed to stay open. So having that direct dialogue through this relationship with the CMAR GC was critical. Flexibility is the other thing. Jason mentioned a little bit about real-time cost estimating. We're in some environmental areas. We're trying to be light on the land. If we can do a GPS points through the oak hammock and remain intact and preserve that canopy, then that's the way we want to do it. We want to limit the amount of expenditures that we have to figure out a way or leave a gap or an opening for the contractor to do a change order. What we'd like to do is create a GPS line, a walk line, then we're in the field with them navigating through the preserve and wetland areas to maximize flexibility for the contract. There's a whole other things. It allows also to phase things. So we can be releasing the entry drive while we're working with the contractor. We don't have mobilization, we don't have demobilization 3 different times. We've already got the contractor on board, and we'll be phasing it all the way to the most environmental sensitive areas. So that thinks it gives us a lot of things from a flexibility standpoint. And I've already mentioned schedule and procurement. So we believe getting the best procurement process to do it based on qualifications of the contractor, based on their past history, based on recommendations from other municipalities, how they've performed, as opposed to a low bid. It just works in so much better relationship. We don't want to be adversarial with this. We want to go in as a partnership and a collaborative process so that they're working on finishing out those contract documents that you have in front of us to maximize efficiency, do things as quickly and as easily as possible, and save public money. So I think those are the 2 big things. Sorry to be long-winded.
And then I'd just like to add one more thing because Danny mentioned it in his feedback. With the timeline, there was a contradiction in the grant. So what happened there, that was an error on our part. The question was asked on page 10 of the application what the construction timeline was. So we focused there, and we gave and basically a synopsis of the timeline based on the Gantt chart from the consultants that you saw in the supplemental material. And we were working hard to make sure that was well understood and everything matched up. Well, there was also the chart that the county provides in the application at the end of the application, and that just hadn't been updated to match the Gantt chart. So that's why there's a discrepancy with 27 versus 25. We are adamant and committed and motivated to get this property open to the public as soon as possible. So per our timeline, we are focusing on the entryway in the parking lot in the upland area to provide public access first and foremost, which we believe can be done by the end of the year. And then from there, as Scott mentioned, the environmental permitting finishes up. We have a contractor already ready to break ground on the wetland areas, and the rest will come there into summer 25. And we're confident that we can hit those timelines efficiently and effectively going about it in this manner. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is just, if you can consider our past track record with ECHO funding. We've never had a problem finishing projects. We always get them done. And a lot of times we're ready to hit the ground running well before we even get the notice to proceed. It's going to be no different for this project. So thank you guys again for the opportunity. And we're happy to answer any questions from the board. Would you allow the mayor to say a few words? Okay, so the mayor would also like to say a few words before we take your feedback and questions.
And while the mayor's coming up, the staff would be, after the mayor speaks, if you could update, because we have some new members, exactly what an exceptional grant is and the criteria that go with it, so that we all know what we're talking about, okay? Adam Chev.
Thank you. I won't take a lot of your time. This project is extremely important to our community, and we have an extremely high motivation. We have spent a lot to open it to the public. We have spent a lot of the public's money acquiring it, and we hoped that through the exceptional grant, we could get the entrance and the upland trails that don't require the extensive permitting done in stepwise fashion this year, 2024, with a goal of opening the gates in December of 2024.
I thought that's what I heard.
And I understand rules. I'm pretty much a rule follower.
Yeah, you are.
Pat does know me. I'm a rule follower. I see the guide, and I see the requirement put in a guide saying that you need shovel-ready plans, because it anticipates a certain kind of procedure to securing the contract to break ground. Ours, we believe, will be much more efficient this way, and we will complete it faster and at a better price. And we have put well over $5 million of our money in. We bought this property not a year ago, February 1, 2023. We had 1,000 hours of input from the community, staff, council. We had a draft of the vision from the consultant in July. We passed it in August. We began the engineering with the consultant in September, and we're working full speed ahead. I don't think you can do it any more comprehensively or rapidly than what we're doing. And with a small city of 23,000 committing over $5 million in 1 year, with a normal general budget of around $20 million, it's an extraordinary commitment on our part. So I am asking that you consider that we would be eligible, given the documentation you've received and our demonstrated commitment to this project, which is shown with over $5 million from us and less than a year's development time. It's an extraordinary property. I think most of you would agree after being there. It is my heart.
Okay.
Chairman, yeah, if you don't mind, I'll finish up there. As you well know, that this is a one-of-a-kind project. There's not many places in the state of Florida where you can enjoy 2 miles of riverfront without needing a boat. This is be given to the public. Any delay in this particular projects, our residents, the Volusia residents, will not be able to enjoy the park for that time of delay. This is a complicated project. People think that nature parks are very easy. Matter of fact, they're more complicated than anything else. And so that's why the phasing works. We've got $5.77 million in cash since February of last year that we invested in this project. You can see that we're extremely compassionate. Yesterday, we broke ground on our downtown project. And Alexander Island's going to bring visitors from all over Volusia County and Central Florida, matter of fact, to support our downtown. We visualize residents of Volusia County coming there, visiting the park, spending the day there, grandfathers bringing their kids to fish there, walking, spend the whole day there, and then coming to our downtown for meals and everything else. So it is also an economic driver for our West Volusia as well. So it is a complicated project, and we ask you to consider, because our application, we believe there's enough equivalency there to provide the justification to recommend approval of our exceptional grant, and that you have the justification there. And I don't think it's going to create any precedents going forward. We understand the rigid process from some of the problems in the past, but we are the city. We're just as accountable as Volusia County to make sure that this project is done. I think the city of DeBary has been great stewards with a lot of money that's coming to our way. And so we ask for the exception to be recommended to Volusia County, and allow all the information that we provided to be the equivalents in your justification to move it forward for funding this year. Thank you very much, and I'll take any questions that you might have.
Okay. Are there questions for
I've got
Mr. Alt?
this whole presentation doesn't even go along with our policy. Thank you for presenting, though. But you mentioned many times phases just in this last presentation. So why didn't you come in with a phase 1 grant request and then come back next year when everything is in place?
This is phase 1. The $4.3 million will cover phase 1. There are going to be many phases to this particular project. You got to remember that this might be a 10-year completion for this particular project. Bringing the boardwalk all the way around 1.9 miles is going to take an extraordinary effort to get done. The total cost of what our vision is for this particular property may be 20 to 25 million. And that's what we're going to have invested in this particular project. The concept that you see and the CMAR plan, this project will be built what you see here in this concept. Will the parking lot be 2 feet to the left or 2 feet to the right? I don't know yet. Depends on what permitting does. But what you see on this concept is what this design and what this build out will be. The entrance is being designed now. We'll start construction. The entrance should be done by the end of this month. When we'll start construction immediately on that. The parking lot would be done by June or July. We'll start construction on that. The bathrooms, the same thing. The nature trail, the same thing. And we believe that we will have the entrance, the parking lot, the bathrooms, and the nature trails done by December 2024 so that we can open the park to the public. And so what you see here on this concept is what the design is going to be. The CMAR contract, a little different than what staff does. We've done CMAR contracts with design or without design, depending on how you structure your advertisement. And so we've done both. Certainly we got a CMAR contract right now going with our fire station. Design's already done. The CMAR contract is only construction only. And so there is just a number of different methods, whether you do a CMAR with a design build, a CMAR which is a design assist, or a CMAR with just construction only. There's just a number of ways you can do that. But I want to say here that the ECHO money here is not at risk, and I want to assure you that the ESCO money is not at risk here. And what you see on this concept is phase 1, and this is what this grant money here that hopefully that you'll approve and move forward to county council. This is what the first grant allocation will go towards. Is this concept that you see on this paper here?
Can I interrupt you for just a moment, Mr. Alt? I want to be sure that we are, Ms. Coleman, are we okay to where we're at here? With having this presentation?
Oh, okay. Yes, sure. So let me just clarify. So as far as looking at documents and hearing from the applicant, you are more than welcome to look at whatever you'd like to and hear whatever you'd like to, but that does not change the application that was submitted and the deadline by which it had to be submitted. So this does not augment the application. You as committee members and certainly the applicant are willing. This is the time for this discussion. So certainly I don't want to freeze any discussion or delay that or change that, but the application itself, of course, is not altered because there was a deadline and the application had to be submitted by the deadline. So you can look at whatever you'd like to, have the conversations, presentation, that's all great. That's part of your consideration.
I was going to say, we can consider that as part of our up or down vote.
It just, again, please remember that the application itself did not change based on anything that we received.
Okay.
The application was fixed as of the deadline.
So what is submitted today cannot be considered as a part of the application?
Correct. It cannot be considered as part of the application. That's correct.
But may I speak, Chairman? And that's why we were asking for that. We believe that we have enough documentation in our application, that there's enough equivalence there to provide to move this forward as a recommendation, and say there's just enough here in the application, even though it doesn't meet the rigid standards, that there's enough equivalency in this application to recommend to the county council for approval.
Okay. Were you going to have more that you wanted to comment on?
Yeah, there's a few other things. This is not, we are not voting today on whether or not this is an exceptional grant or not. I do disagree with the staff's recommendation that this meets 29,746 meet. Those aren't significant numbers to me across the county based on other projects. I don't think they come close. Now, that said, comment number 2, whoever it was recommended that you develop a marketing plan. You don't have one right now for this, which is also it's going to be another major part of reviewing this grant, which to me is that should be in the application, and it's not, because you don't really have a marketing plan to promote this.
Yeah, so I'll touch on that comment. It's, again, more of clarification. So if the marketing plan on the pages that we submitted, we took it directly from the feasibility study, which is based on the recommendations for the marketing plan, everything that's included in it. There's some language in that recommendation that the first paragraph kind of stated that the city should continue to write a marketing plan and incorporate it into the citywide plan. And then here are the recommendations and everything that should be in there. Those recommendations, essentially, when you read through it, are the marketing plan. It tells us what marketing channels to use. It talks about strategic partnerships, everything that would be in a standard marketing plan. So, I guess the misstep in the application on our part is we should have provided additional language to say, we're going to adopt the recommendations in the feasibility study as the marketing plan for the park, and continue to incorporate that into the citywide marketing plan as it fits, which is actually happening right now. A lot of the stuff in those recommendations we already do. So it's just applying it to that property on the different channels and partnerships and everything it talks about. There's 4 or 5 pages in there of marketing plans. So that's how we took that, and that's why it was presented like that. But again, we probably should have had some additional language to clarify that's in fact what we were adopting.
Can staff explain to me and some of the new members too about previously spent cash? If we do take if we take the staff recommendation, ask them to come back next cycle, is everything that they're spending now, is that still eligible to meet that, I don't know, in the budget?
Trying to get there.
Yep. There are some restrictions on previously spent cash, but the majority of what they're doing, yes. There is a cap, however, which is 25%. Jill?
50% has to be cash. The other 50% can be made up of land match, previously spent cash, or in-kind services. So it could be up to 50.
Okay.
Yeah, my final comment, I think the project is great. I have problems moving it forward simply because it's not meeting the policies that we have in place right now.
Before I go to anybody else, can I ask this question? We are not determining eligibility for exceptional status today, only that they're put down vote to qualify them to come back.
That's correct. You determine exceptional at the grant review panel meeting.
Okay, so I don't need to hear, or we don't need to hear right now, exceptional grant status remarks from staff.
Correct. We can send that out before the next meeting, so you
Okay.
have that information. Then we'll go
Okay.
back over it as we start the next meeting.
Okay, but you all graded it as an exceptional project, correct? Because that's what they submitted.
Mhm.
I just want
Yes.
to be clear for the record. Okay.
And to define what an exceptional project is, it's a project of paramount and crucial county-wide importance, which provides receipt of services by a significantly large number of people in all areas of the county.
Okay. Other comments?
Yeah,
questions?
I just have a question. I was unclear on that last clarification that was reached. What are we doing today relative to this?
We are voting the projects if they're eligible or not eligible to go forward.
And in terms of eligibility, think of the ballot language. Will this project improve the quality of life of Volusia County residents? If it does, then it's eligible for ECHO funding and further consideration, so scoring.
Well,
So-
But
the
you all
staff
have
comments
said
say
no.
it's not eligible.
That's correct.
But we can,
So we can disagree with you?
Certainly, our
Yep.
our advice, ours.
Why would we do that?
why would we
As
ever
you're paid to
disagree
do
with
that.
staff?
Our recommendations are advisory in nature.
Right.
You all have
Yes.
varied experience, and that's why you're here.
Yeah.
No,
okay.
but I mean, it appears to me that there are some obvious technical deficiencies. I mean, I don't know the rules real well because I'm one of the new people, but they don't have the required construction drawings. They don't have a bid set of architectural and engineering plans which are ready to be used for the procurement process. So how do I now say, you didn't meet the rules, but you're eligible? I mean, it's.
Well, I think that's what staff
I
was
love the
saying.
project. Don't get me wrong. I want to do what you. I want to say yeah. What I really want to say is, I love the project to the county council, but you guys have to decide whether or not they should move forward or not. And I don't want to stop them. I want the county council to decide this. So but I don't know how I vote based on what you just said, because I can't vote yes, it's eligible when it doesn't meet the rules.
It's complicated.
And let me
complicado.
and Jay can give some history on the construction documents, but if it is voted ineligible here, it stops
It
here.
stops.
It
It
does not go to
stops.
committee. It does not get scored because it did not. It can come back next year, which is what we did with Daytona last year. They did not. They asked for an exceptional project. We deemed that it met exceptional status. However, they didn't have the construction drawings. They just got them in a year later. So
Do
they
we-
missed this cycle because they didn't have the construction documents ready.
But the difference, and I will tell you, I'm sitting here, I don't know where I'm at because this is very complicated. But last year we denied Daytona, Jackie Robinson, which was more of a hard build project. This is an environmental project that, and I understand when they say about waiting on other jurisdictions, although Mike is sitting right out there now, so you could talk to him about St. John's. St. John's, the state, those kinds of issues where other venues are looking at it differently than you would look at a hard build project. This is an environmental project. So when you as staff you look at the project, do you take that into consideration?
No,
at all?
we apply the rules equally to everyone in terms of trying to be fair.
Okay. Ms. Drago.
I'm going to just say that, you know, I heard, I've worked with hard bid projects, design build projects, CM at risk projects, and you tailor certainly the delivery method to the type of project. As you know, when we toured this, I was so enthusiastic. I want to find a way to find it eligible. I'm just going to put that to you and to the staff. That's where I sit. I understand rules and submittals and making sure, when we had under my first meeting, when we talked about making sure that you have architectural drawing ready to submit, and I thought to myself that oftentimes entails going and spending quite a bit of cash whether or not you know you're going to be able to do the project. And so sometimes I think that if you have a strong concept of what they presented today, you have to say, do you believe that this project should wait another year, or should it go forward? Do we have a confidence? And that's kind of, and that's where I sit with what they've presented today, as well as with their initial application and our visit to the site. What they have submitted today, and I understand that it is more concrete material and defined material on their original submittal, but it looks like it's probably has to have review. If I know the process, we used to go through 3 sets of plan reviews before you were ready to bid. But and you may have it amended when you get your contractor under contract, because you get into cost issues. But I just want to say that to this group, I want to follow the rules, but I really hope there is a way that we can find this eligible to move forward for our consideration.
Well, I will tell you, I have traditionally tried to support staff, but I suppose because, and let me just lay it out there. I walked that property several times with the mayor. We have at her speed, which is it's difficult. I know that they put their own money into it to buy the property. That counts for something to me. I know that environmental issues sometimes are different than hard building issues. Not always, but they can be. I know the environmental issues. I know that this commission or this committee and overall, we have not. When we look at the ECHO, the E has been the one that has been less than the H, and the H is pretty low too. But more than that, I know the heart of DeBerry, and I know, Madam Mayor, Karen, when do you leave office? 26. Okay, so there you go. She's a toughie.
I'm termed out. They have put so much money
they
in.
have put money into this, and I know that I know the commitment, because I walked that property early on before you even bought the property with Karen. I know that there's a commitment by this council in DeBerry, and particularly the mayor, to get this done as quickly as you can get it done. I get that we are saying that technically there are issues, but I'm like you, Ms. Drago. I want to find a way to celebrate this item.
It would seem to me that when you look at it, I had a lot of years working with the city of DeBerry over, for them to come forward with this kind of investment up front on a parcel that I think has been threatened over the years, okay? As I said, I'd hate to have it wait another year. That's where I am. And I don't know that we would have a great deal of improvement. We might have final documents.
Chairman, one last comment, and that's what I was talking about, the equivalency. Even though that we don't have the construction documents and all the engineering done for every single item that's on this concept, but I think that the equivalent is that we provided an alternative incremental engineering construction plan. We provided our investment of $5.77 million. It is a vital, there's enough equivalency in this particular application to say, yes, we believe that even though all the construction plans are not done, there's a solid, sophisticated process that has been established here that we feel confident, and that's where the equivalent is to some of your rules and regulations that you
There is
have.
an enthusiasm that comes with this property.
Yes, it does.
From your,
I'm ready to make a motion.
well, let me see if anybody has some questions.
I have a question for some clarification. If it is approved to move forward, can they submit any additional clarification to answer these questions that have been brought forward, or in the application, or is that done?
That's done.
They can submit informational. There is some language in the guidebook that says they cannot submit information that cures deficiencies that staff found after the final application deadline. So in my mind, the plan that they share today would be correcting a deficiency in their application.
So the information that we've heard would not go to county council as part of the application?
It would not as part of the application, but I'm sure they would present as they did today.
It is difficult because it's beautiful, and the investment that you have made already is significant. And I think the property is beautiful, and I understand what you're saying, but it's difficult for us as an advisory council because, of course, we're trying to follow the letter of the rules. And so that clarification helps. It doesn't make the decision any easier, but.
Jay?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, of course. Is there any archaeological studies or anything archaeologically significant or historically significant about the site?
We believe that somewhere on the berm out there, and the study was done in, I believe, 1945, and that there might be some type of artifacts that are out on the berm somewhere out there in one of the berms there. So, but again, this particular phase don't get way out there, but there are some archaeological things that are recorded, and I'm not sure what agency it is. I'm sorry, right off the top of my head, but out on the berm somewhere that it was mapped in about 1945.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm a third generation Floridian, and driving past the new development, it was like horrifying.
Yeah.
And then when I saw your property, I'm extremely enthusiastic about this project. And I do believe that it is a work in progress. You're going to constantly be making changes and modifications as things go along. And so I totally understand that. I think I think that's valid. And phasing things does make sense. Getting it open to the public as soon as possible makes sense. I would suggest you light a fire under your consultant. He might hate me, but in the plans you just gave us, it doesn't include paving, grading, and parking. And that's the one sheet that you need that you really want to get started on the paving, grading, and parking. So I would light a fire there. And then the second one is the entry gate and everything, which we've discussed. I'm sure it'll be very nice, but the page is blank.
Well,
so, I mean, those are things that I know that this will have further discussion at further meetings, and I would just suggest those are areas that I see that are really lacking in phase one, you know, and so we're all trying to work with you to figure out how can we say yes when there's an awful lot of things in our requirements that are kind of shaky. So, you know, it's going to be a continual effort on your part to convince everyone that that we can overcome these deficiencies.
Well, I can assure you that you know, we got the documents with our consultant and our engineer, and those plans are for the entrance are going to be done by either the end of this month or first part of February. And so, yeah, I know you don't see them. That's part of the incremental. And so I think if you look through City of DeBary, you see a whole lot of quality. That's some of the things that we're really trying to put into here, that this is going to be a first-class facility. We want it to represent Volusia County the best way possible. And that's one of the things though, that we strive for, and I know you don't see it in here, but the entrance gate and everything else, it's going to look similar to Gemini Springs. You're going to be coming in, and it's going to be gravel, a shell pay parking lot. It's nothing that's going to be paved in that regard. It's all going to be shell. Even the nature trail is going to be natural. And so we're going to try to disrupt the property as little as we possibly can. And so, yeah, we're taking all the things into consideration. The difficult part is the Army Corps engineers. That's the unknown, how long it's going to take to get through the federal government to get all those things done. And I know the FDEP's involved as well. And so it's all these particular agencies on those waterfront properties is, are we going to get all the engineering and everything done by middle of summer? Yes, we will.
Mm-hmm.
But then then if we're required for that, then we're in your cycle for 2026.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want to open the park this year. I think of Volusia residents deserve the park to be open and to enjoy it with the entrance, the parking, the bathrooms, and the natural trail. I really, having to, wait on the Army Corps engineers to get all the things done for the fishing piers and the boardwalks and everything else. You got to make them ADA compliant and everything else. We may be coming back to you, maybe not next year, but 2 years from now. If you wanted absolutely every single thing engineered and exactly permitted, and it's this type of the project that the rigid guidelines, it really cuts out.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there, and I'm going to go to.
The application
You have to come to the mic.
The application, he just told me the application and the entryway is in the
It's in the
application.
application, 'cause it's not here.
That's the supplemental.
Yeah, that's just the document that he provided today, but it's in the application.
All right, I'm going to.
Paving and grading.
We need to
The other
move on,
application.
and I'm going to go back to Ms. Drago, who said she was ready to make a motion.
Pat, may I?
I'm sorry, yes.
Before a motion is made. So we've had this conversation at the staff level, and if offer as an option for the committee's consideration, because there is precedent for this, is, and previously it was 2021, and this option will protect the integrity of the program, but also not only help this partner, but the city of Daytona Beach, in terms of the committee making a recommendation to the county council to have a second grant cycle this year. It would be in the spring. It would give them additional 4 months to get the documents together. And it would allow the city of Daytona Beach, which missed the grant deadline this year because they didn't have the completed construction documents because we rejected them previously, an opportunity to apply as well.
So how do we, would we make a motion to do that, or would we deny this and then make another motion to
Both.
add?
Ms. Coleman?
Yes, there would be two motions here, right? So it would be a motion to find it uneligible at this time, and then a motion to recommend to council that there be a second grant cycle this calendar year, this fiscal year.
My question would be, how would we be confident that this council would in fact grant a second cycle?
Your recommendations are purely advisory in nature.
Right. Has any conversation been with this council that they consider a second cycle?
No, ma'am.
Madam
I
Chairman,
will-
would the second cycle be for exceptional,
We would open it for everyone.
everyone?
So that's what we did in 2021.
That is correct.
2022.
And we have significant reserves to fund projects.
You know, we used to, Pat, I don't know if you remember this, but when someone was coming for an exceptional grant, they used to have to apply in two separate, they used to have to give us documents for an exceptional grant and documents for a standard grant.
Yeah.
And we could bump it down to a standard grant. And I don't know when that was changed. I wish that was part of this cycle. I mean, I wish we were still doing it that way. I don't know when that changed. But, yeah, I can't approve this moving forward as is, so.
Okay, Ms. Drago, do you still want to make a motion?
I do, but it doesn't seem. I mean, I see the good sense of the compromise that you have proposed. Okay, and as I said, I do think it's important to follow the rules. I don't want to wait another year, and I do not want to have anything that snags this project. I'm looking around the table, counting the votes. You know, go ahead.
But I could say council could override us.
I
So
understand.
our recommendations, we're recommending that we don't follow policy.
Yep.
So you want to roll the dice and say council is going to accept in this political environment of what's going on behind the scenes. You want to roll those dice. I'm not going there.
I hear you. What I want is a win-win here. So I think I will go ahead and agree that we, first of all, I want to recommend that which one, I'd like to make sure that we ask for a second grant cycle as the first motion. And then we deal with this.
Just in case you're looking, I think you think you're looking at me for clarification, so I'll clarify. Yeah, the two motions are actually unconnected technically, so you can make them in any order you feel appropriate.
I'd like to make sure that we have the full endorsement of this committee for the second grant cycle before we vote on the eligibility. Okay,
Okay, is
so
that a
I
motion?
move that we apply for a second grant cycle to allow specifically for the DeBerry submittal as well as the city of Daytona Beach
Okay, is there a second?
And other applicants.
and other applicants.
Is there a second to,
And-
seconded by Mr. Selby? Okay, any further discussion on that motion?
Yeah, I think it's really important that we not violate our own rules. I just, what's so incredibly frustrating about this is here you have a governmental entity that spent $5.77 million of their own money, and our rules don't allow us to grant them $2.5 million to spend another $2.5 million. It's just
I understand
drives me
what- I
crazy.
exactly
okay?
understand what you're
But I
saying.
get it that we want to have rules that we're stewards of the county's general fund, or the dedicated funds from this, and we don't want to just cut a check and then
But I
which
will tell
isn't
you
what happens,
why
but
I would
invest the money without knowing exactly how it's going to be used. So
I
that's
agree
what's
with you
frustrating.
100%, but I will tell you, and this is emotional one for me, is that I know this city and what they have done, and you are right, putting $5.5 million into it. That is a commitment.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get that out of a lot of the other cities. I had the mayor sitting here in the chambers. Nobody from Daytona came that was elected, as far as I remember, to say, I'm telling you that we're going to do this. So for me, it's emotional. I've walked the property. I know it. So
No, I mean, I'm in 100%.
I'm torn because I would love to see a second cycle, and I think this committee would benefit from that as well as the county. I don't know the fact that it has not been discussed with the council, whether or not they would see it as intently as we see it. So I will vote to support your motion, but I don't know what I'll do on the second one. Depends on what.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to take one more question from you, Carmen, then we're
Well,
going
yeah,
to
no,
vote.
We have a
I'll be
motion
glad-
on the table. First, we have a motion on the table,
vote
so
on
we
the
need to
first
vote on
motion.
that.
Okay. Do we get a second? You
Yep.
okay?
Second.
Okay. All those, call the roll.
Jeffrey Alt,
Yes.
Pat Drago,
Yes.
John Macaluso, Stephanie Mason Teague,
Yes.
Pat Northey,
Yes.
Jay Pendergast,
Yes.
Reggie Santilli, Dwight Selby.
Yes.
Okay, we have made a motion that we will ask, is that what your motion was, to ask?
that we request
for
a second.
request, thank you. Okay.
And I'm going to, may I ask, Madam Chair, so when would this request go to the council?
Second meeting in February, February 20th.
Okay, and I'm And when are we to vote on on this project? If the council rejects our
It's in
request.
February, I think.
We're voting today.
I know
on
that.
No,
eligibility.
but they come back.
What?
They'll come back with, we'll rank, are you talking about ranking?
Yes.
We're ranking. Yeah, we have a ranking meeting. When's the ranking meeting?
That is, the grant review panel is February 16th.
But as a reminder, if it's voted ineligible, it does not come to the grant review panel.
Right.
That's
It's
why I'm
done.
asking
Right.
the question. I'm trying to think of I'm trying to hedge all the bets. I don't know what to do.
Chairman, may I? May I?
Yes, and then
Look,
one more
it's
question.
it's
or one-
obvious that the procedures are really rigid.
Yeah.
And it doesn't allow for any flexibility. And when you have that kind of procedure, moving us forward, I think gives the opportunity to staff to revise the procedures going forward to allow some exception. When we have an equivalent where we believe that everything that's in this application provides everything that you possibly would need, and it's equivalent to what you're asking for.
You might have to argue that with the council.
I will.
I know you will.
And moving us forward for recommendation, then the council can decide ultimately, are the procedures really rigid, and do we need to make a revision? But if they need to be revised, I hate to be the city of DeBerry be the penalty for wanting to soften the procedures up a little bit in the future. And that's what we're asking for, is asking for moving it to the council.
Cut you off. And we're going to go to whoever.
We're asking for you to move it, approve it, recommend to the
As
council.
stubborn as the mayor.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Do we have a motion specific to the
I move
project?
that we find the city of DeBerry ineligible at the current time with their grant application for Alexander Island Park due to an incomplete application, and recommend they address the missing elements of the application and reapply at a later date.
Is there a second? I don't
I'll
see-
second the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion. Is there any comment or comments on the motion that, before we take a ballot vote? Okay.
Jeffrey Alt.
This is to support, this is to say
It's ineligible.
that it's ineligible.
So
So a
yes.
yes vote would be ineligible, a no vote would be where you don't agree with the, okay.
Pat Drago.
Oh.
John Macaluso. Stephanie Mason Teague.
Yes, with regret.
Pat Northey.
No.
Jay Pendergast.
No.
Reggie Santilli.
Yes.
Dwight Selby.
Yes.
We've got 4-4.
Perfect.
Well, I counted it. Okay, Madam Attorney, what do we do then?
You have to give me a second, Pat. I'm sorry. Didn't count on that one.
So typically in Robert's rules,
Yeah.
the chair
Chair
breaks a tie. So since we're missing one person,
Can we have
5-minute
Let's
recess.
have a 5-minute recess. We've got a charter I need to look at real fast.
Okay. All right, 5 minutes. We're in recess for 5 minutes. It's 5:10. You're right.
No, you're right. We have LiDAR, but we have LiDAR, which is, flown aerial, but we have survey that's being updated over the holidays. We just don't have the final topo back. So to do PG&D, we could have done it, but it would have been a waste of the document time until we get final survey, and environmental is out there today getting final documentation. So trying to get survey, environmental, geotech all done over the holidays, but the other the entry has full documentation. It's in the application. That's why we're trying to phase it. So we did it as part of the master plan. Yeah. No, I don't take offense. You're exactly right. It doesn't have it because we didn't include it yet because it's not complete.
Okay, we're going to call back, call the committee back into session. And I understand we have a resolution.
Yes,
and I
ma'am.
see our former attorney
I
sitting
know we had
here,
to.
so
We called in Russ Brown just for some backup
Please.
here, so I feel
Welcome,
extra
Russ.
confident. He was tired of my text messages, so there he is now. We were just verifying that the County of Volusia actually has an ordinance that deals with tie votes, and in our case, tie votes are to be considered failing motions. So this motion would fail because it was a tie vote.
Well, that answers that. I think we all knew that, but what do we do now?
Well, sorry about that. Right this second, all you have is a motion that failed to find something ineligible. So there would need to be another motion.
So,
To find it, we,
to find it eligible?
Anything your heart desires. But yes, that
well,
does seem to
well,
be
here's
the
my
next
con-
logical option.
My
Yes, ma'am.
question:
Sure.
if someone doesn't change their vote,
Right.
that's going to fail as
Yeah,
well.
that's predictable. If that happens that way, which again, this is all forecasting because you do need another motion before anything else happens.
Okay.
I want you to take that one because I'm
okay.
not gonna.
So-
I don't want to assume no one changes their mind, but assuming no one changes their mind, I think that would be a situation where again, this is an advisory committee, and you would need to take this. We need to take this to council.
Well, we can't do
Um,
that now.
Without any recommendation.
With a recommendation of we couldn't make a recommendation.
That's what would happen if there is no other vote. But at
But-
this point,
but you believe that if there is someone on this council committee
Mhm.
that would take a vote the opposite of Ms. Drago, who voted to make them eligible, so we would need a vote to make them ineligible and take a.
we just had that. This was a motion
That was
for
what failed.
ineligibility.
So he
Oh, that's right, that's right, you're
what
right,
failed.
you made
So
the
I
motion
would
on the-
then make the vote to find this project eligible and to proceed to scoring.
Was that a motion, or are you asking a
Yes,
question?
I'm
Okay,
going
there,
to.
there's your motion.
And recognizing that the commitment of the city to meet some of the shortcomings in the original application, I think weighs heavily in my mind, is moving this forward for eligibility, as declaring it eligible and worthy of further evaluation.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? Okay. Motion dies for lack of second.
So it's ineligible.
So what happens now?
No, so it's not ineligible and it's not eligible. So this is what I was saying. We're going to need to take this one to council. You are an advisory committee. We're going to have to take this one as basically a decision
couldn't make any-
without any advice for county council
That's
to
fine.
determine. Yes,
It
ma'am.
goes to, will go to council for their consideration.
That is correct.
And when will that happen?
No, I'm sorry. That's to answer. There was a Dwight. You want to say that on the
I'm
record?
sorry, Dwight.
I just wondered, do we need a motion?
I don't think you do really, because you've had there's really not a middle ground other than eligible for this type of proceeding that we're having today.
Okay.
When that will happen, I think, is up to management and Brad. So I'm going to punt on that one to
Okay.
the estimable
What are we-
Dr. Burbach.
What are we taking to, so the applicant knows, what are we taking to the county council? What are they going to see?
So we find ourselves in a situation where an unprecedented situation.
Yeah, I don't ever think this
And
has
then
ever
I would
happened
say
before.
that I need to talk to leadership
Okay.
and understand the different variables at play. We would certainly like council to weigh in before scoring.
Okay.
That is Brad's opinion.
Well, that would be my
However,
opinion, yeah.
there are multiple variables that need to be taken into account, so I will
Big
talk with
timeline.
my leadership team tonight, and we will report back.
Okay.
But the request to schedule a second grant cycle is going
That
forward
one moves
regardless.
forward, because that was unanimously
Yes, that already
agreed.
passed. And again, that
Yeah.
was those two
So
motions
that-
are technically
so that
not
goes
connected. So
forward.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. DeBerry, you understand where we're at? Okay.
Just let us know when it occurs. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, we have two others to debate. Okay.
Alrighty, thanks for waiting. Volusia Flagler YMCA. This is the Deltona Family YMCA Athletic Fields and Playground Project. The Echo request is $428,500. The total match is $428,500. They have unencumbered cash of $321,375, and they also have a land match of $107,125. This application is for the construction of a new ADA playground and improvements to the adjoining soccer fields.
Okay, and they were deemed eligible.
Yep.
by
The recommendation to the Echo Advisory Committee was as presented. The application and project meet the County Council approved requirements for standard grant funding.
Okay, so I will either take a motion or.
I've got some questions.
Yeah, comments? Okay.
One of our directives is we're supposed to be creating opportunities for public use. And I'm looking over your annual reports, and every single grant that we hear from YMCA, somebody is always questioning how much public availability is there. You have memberships that for a two-parent family, it's $77 a month. It's $1,000 a year, roughly. Your population served, according to your annual reports, is 4,300. That's for the Ormond, the Ormond Beach Park, where we have 1.5 million of ECHO dollars into. The YMCA, the Land Splash Park, the numbers are only 800 a year. I'm confused with that number. Why is it so small? Or the Deltona Splash Park, 600. I'm failing to see how your YMCA's are open to the general public for public use if you only if only your members are using it. You explain that you're getting into partnerships and other people are using that, but those numbers aren't on your annual reports. So how do I judge your past performances?
Hi, I'm Kelly Crane with Brooks and Dunn Grant Consulting, filling in for Teresa Brooks, so bear with me. I'm the B team, so thank you for the question, Mr. Alt. As we go through the grant writing process, we take the information we are given and we put that out in our grants. In the application, when we receive those numbers, I can only speak to what we receive. The YMCA, of course, by nature is a membership type situation that is available to all of the public. I believe when we were talking earlier, Chris did mention that 25% that they are looking would have public use to that. They are, I think, looking at opening up, hopefully, at some point in time, a summer program, but they have to have programs in Deltona in order to do that to serve more children. As far as the membership goes, that is how the YMCA works. And that is for the public. So I know it's a fee and it's not free of use, but it is for the programs for those children.
Did the YMCA people?
Yes, Chris had an obligation. He stayed as long as he could. It was a little longer than he thought.
So we don't have anybody from the YMCA here?
No, he did have to leave, Mr. Alt. Okay. He was here up until about 10 minutes ago.
I also mentioned there at the park I had problems with, you did not submit a feasibility study. A feasibility evaluation is not a feasibility study. And your marketing plans, I see these every time and in every grant. All of these strategies that you say you're going to do, but then once again, in the annual report, the only marketing that you have is social media. We have problems with other grants like that too, as I go through these annual reports. Numbers are so low because you are not actually marketing the project. That is a major element to ECHO. And we are supposed to be providing opportunities for public use, and we need to start hitting those numbers.
I understand. Thank you for your comments.
Okay. Any other comments?
I do have a question, and this, I believe, would be for staff and clarification. I'm reading through the public access section of the project eligibility, and it says that grantees may not discriminate in the schedule of fees or terms of use of the facility. Is that to be interpreted that public access must be free? I'm trying to understand, because that's kind of what we're discussing now, is public access versus free public access. So I'm just looking for some clarification on the eligibility section, please.
So we do allow organizations or grantees to charge fees. They just have to be the same across the county. So whether you live in Ormond or Deltona, the fee has to remain the same. That's what that statement refers to.
And Stephanie, to further clarify, you will see some cities, if you're like a City of DeBerry resident, you can rent a pavilion for $30 for the day. If you are a non-resident, it's $50. But if Echo built that, if you're a Volusia County resident, it's $50. But if Echo built that pavilion, it should be $30 for everyone.
Yes, we have.
For everyone in the county.
Everyone in the county, yes.
I see.
We have admission fees in a number of our projects, and although they're not the same, but they're the same for, if it's just as Brad said. Okay.
So I believe then what Mr. Ald is referring to is that if the public have access to it, but it's not marketed to them, how do they know that they have access to it? So I believe really it's more a discussion of that, not that it's free or not, but that if ECHO funds are used, the public needs to know that it's available to them.
Of course, and that should be up on their website. That should be going out in mailers at some point in time when that is available.
But I do think I heard on the soccer fields, which is the playground was free, and they just had to join a soccer team, and that was not a membership. They didn't join as a member.
Correct.
That was correct, right?
You did hear that right.
Okay.
Madam Chairman? Yeah, I just have a question regarding the utilization of these fields. So if you're just a couple of kids from the neighborhood ride up on their bikes, can they go play soccer on these fields? I mean, not being part of a league, or will there be a gate and it's locked and nobody can get in unless they're in a Y sanctioned team?
That's a great question. I do not have the answer to that. I'm going to be honest with you, but I can get that for you.
Okay.
I would assume that if there is not a game on that field, you will probably see children on that field. I don't see any way as you walk through there to keep them from accessing, just like parks and everything else, unless gates are closed.
And I guess technically that wouldn't be a reason to turn it down anyway, because if they can charge, they can protect the perimeter if they wanted to. But I think I'm like you. I don't see that happening.
Yeah,
I think
and
it'll be open. And when he mentioned that they wanted to cut down the vegetation from the building to the field so they had better view of what's going on, that way they can keep an eye on when there are when it's free play. Let's call
I'm
it.
not aware of any gates that are there, but you see pickup games everywhere
Right.
of kids getting together, doing things, and I don't see any gates that are going to keep them out.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And that
Just one more.
Okay.
I'm starting to, this is in general too, it seems like we're seeing more and more applications that the general public is being charged fees for everything, and this is their money. In some cases, the general public has more than 50% into the project. Even this project, you're using land match that you've had you're using land as match for this. So the general public, taxpayers, are paying the majority of the project. And even at the one municipality that we visited today, the new rec center, they're talking about fees. I hope we could look at that topic in April about fees.
we can put that on the agenda. In the meantime, do I have a motion to make this eligible or ineligible? Anybody?
I'll move Volusia, Flagler YMCA, Deltona Family YMCA Athletic Fields and Playground Project as being eligible.
Thank you. And it's a second?
Second the motion.
Okay, Reggie, you seconded? Okay. Any other questions or comments? And if not, we'll take a vote on that.
Jeffrey Alt,
Yes.
Pat Drago,
Yes.
John Macaluso, Stephanie Mason Teague,
Yes.
Pat Northey,
Yes.
Jay Pendergast,
Yes.
Reggie Santilli,
Yes.
Dwight Selby.
Yes.
Okay, they, please let them know they're eligible, and we'll see them again for ranking. Okay. Last but not
Alrighty,
least.
yep. Our last applicant is Stetson University. This is the Lake Beersford Shoreline Restoration and Public Access Enhancements at the Sandra Stetson Aquatic Center. The ECHO request is $600,000 and the total match is $600,000 as well. This application is to showcase green infrastructure through the creation of a living shoreline, construction of a dock for public use, and the expansion of ADA accessibility on the site. And the recommendation to the advisory committee was as presented. This application and project meet the county council approved requirements for standard grant funding.
Okay, and
I've
any
got-
additional information that you guys need to provide? I think we thoroughly talked about your, okay. I'll go to the committee. Is there anybody who wants to raise a question or to?
I have questions.
Okay, Mr. Alt?
Piggybacking on what I was just talking to the YMCA about, public access. Your past grants are reflective of, are you a successful ECHO partner? And I fail to see that. Even the Aquatic Center, you're presenting this feasibility study where you are projecting all of this public access and usership. You know, you have these same statements that have been in all of your grants. And with the Aquatic Center, you are projecting 10,000 room nights per year based on people coming to the Aquatic Center for different events. Well, your annual report shows your people served at only 10,348. Those are horrible numbers for what you projected and what you got $400,000 for a few years ago. Public access. You know, the Stetson Homer and Dolly Hand Museum, 2,627 annual visitors. Where's the public access? $600,000 for that. Public only has 2 parking spaces. And you actually tried to turn it into a student exhibition center, I think around 2014, and ECHO said no. The Stetson Rinker Environmental Center, $325,000 of ECHO. Your population served is only 3,705. I mean, are you guys not marketing the ECHO facilities? Clearly there's a deficiency somewhere. Even though it wasn't Stetson's grant, it was the DeLand Speck Martin Stadium where we redid the stadium for Stetson football, and your numbers said you were going to have an annual attendance of 110,000 people. Well, the reality is only 14,000. So your feasibility study and your proposal is really nice and slick, but your execution is horrible. You are not providing public access and you are not living up to the forecast that you are presenting. I have a real problem with this grant. It's not the property, it's not what you're doing. It's the fact that you do not follow through and you do not market to the public. That is what ECHO is about. Providing opportunities for public use. Your grant says you have a budget of $5,000 to advertise. That's not a marketing budget. You say you're creating a world-class facility. $5,000 does not get you a world-class marketing budget.
Okay, Sid, want to respond to that at all?
Sidney Johnston, Assistant Director of Grants and Sponsored Research at Stetson. I helped compile and assemble the grant. I'd like to thank Mr. Alt for his comments and critique about ECHO grants in general at Stetson University. Let me assure you that first we have free and open public access to all of those facilities. We don't charge any user fees. So the public is welcome to come visit the university in those facilities, 2 of which are on the DeLand campus, 4 or 5 blocks from here, and then of course where we were earlier today. So that public access feature is really the most important part of what we try to do with ECHO, because we understand from its inception with President Doug Lee the significance of what this program brings to the residents of Volusia County. And with Clay Henderson, who helped create the program over 20 years ago and is a former faculty member. So we're pleased to provide these facilities free and open to the public. So part of the criticism, and I think that's right, I think that's the right word, has to do with marketing. And so we depend heavily upon our staff, our directors in those facilities, to market the programs to the public. And so at any given time, typing in Stetson Hand Art Center, Stetson Rinker Environmental Learning Center provides you with free public access activities at those places. In addition, we have a marketing division at the university that helps to push out these events that, again, are free and open access to the public. Now, with regard to, I think it was a 2014 event to try and limit access in the Hand Art Center, I can't speak to that. I certainly didn't promote that. And as most of you know, I promote ECHO as public access, that it's got to be public access. It's not at Stetson, it shouldn't be at any university about students or faculty or research. It should be about public access. That's what the program was created. I attended the first meeting of the ECHO grant program. And here I am again today, presenting to you. Can we do a better job at marketing? Absolutely. That's a message I'll carry back to President Rolke, our VP of Enrollment Management and Marketing, so that they're aware that this is a concern that you've articulated, and I appreciate that. Now, the numbers, how do we increase those numbers so that we have more robust reports? We have numbers that impress you. That's going to be on our Hand Art Center and Rinker Environmental Learning Center directors to help promote ECHO.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm glad to address any other questions that Mr. Alt or any of the rest of you may
Anything
have.
else? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We are, any other questions for Stetson? Otherwise, we will move to a vote. And I'll take a motion on Stetson University eligibility.
I'll make the motion
that Stetson University, Lake Beersford Shoreline Restoration and Public Access enhancements at the Sandra Stetson Aquatic Center be eligible.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and to second, and we've had public comment. Okay, Jill?
Jeffrey Alt,
No.
Pat Drago,
Yes.
John Macaluso, Stephanie Mason Teague,
Yes.
Pat Northey,
Yes.
Jay Pendergast,
Yes.
Reggie Santilli,
Yes.
Dwight Selby.
Yes.
Okay, the motion
It
carries.
passes 7-1.
Thank you, everybody who came and, came prepared. We appreciate it. And now we'll move on to score sheet review.
Pat, may I ask
Yes,
a question?
Kendra's going to touch on the score sheet.
Daniel, just a moment.
Oh, I'm
What-
sorry.
I
Pat?
just have a question. I want you, what Jeff has brought forward and his review of the applicants and his pointing out on the marketing and utilization. I had reviewed the annual reports, but I did not print them, et cetera, to have them for reference. And I think that in the future, when we have the applicants, sometimes some of that history would be helpful for us, because what he's bringing up, I'm going to say I did not look at, but it would help me really take into account the effectiveness of the action that we're taking and the effectiveness of the allocation of the taxpayer dollars. So I appreciate his work. I'm kind of sitting here thinking, boy, I was negligent in not going back over that annual report and reviewing that, but I think it's very helpful information, so.
Okay. Okay. Candidly, we've had some that, exactly as Jeff has said, that
Right.
the expectation was one thing and the commitment, what they actually did was
Well,
something
and that's
else.
why my
Yeah.
Sicilian father-in-law used to say, with a mouth, everything is easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm married to him, so that was good. Okay, I'm just
Okay.
saying.
Okay, Daniel, you're up, buddy.
Yes, ma'am. All right, so the score sheet is going to be discussed, but Kendra is going to fill us in on that.
Aren't you lucky?
Yes, yes. So last grant cycle last year, we received some feedback from the county council regarding the score sheets and providing comments. So staff developed a new score sheet, which is more robust. It's rubric, and it has a lot more. If you're a previous committee member, you can see that this is a little bit more complex than what you're used to.
Yeah.
Yes. So we just wanted to make sure. So this is what you're going to use on February 16th to score. We have printed.
Use the printed version, not upload it.
You don't have to. Yeah, you can use the printed version and just bring them. We do collect them at the end of the grant review panel meeting on the 16th. So you can do it beforehand. Sometimes you may change your score depending on the discussion that day. So pencil them in, your scores. And then we'll be ready to have them on the screen for you. As the scores are entered, we will enter them on there so you can see. But we wanted to make sure you had this. I think we sent it out last meeting too, just to make sure you were familiar with it. So I can take any questions about it, or if you have comments. But I just wanted to make sure we kind of touched on that a little bit.
Thank you, because
I will jump in just real quickly on process. So based on the council's comments, we looked at other grant programs that fund this type capital, so cultural, environmental, historic, and outdoor recreation grants at the state level, local level, to see what their scoring sheets look like. And this aligns very closely with what other organizations are doing in Central Florida for both capital investment grants and operational grant investments. So I wanted to provide the background that we didn't just come up with this. We did our research to see what other people were doing.
we appreciate that. Okay. Staff, any other additional staff comments?
I just want to remind you guys of the future advisory committee meeting. So February 16th, which is a Friday, not a Thursday, 9 o'clock. That'll be our grant review panel meeting. That'll be here in Chambers, 9 o'clock. That's when we'll do our scoring on our new score sheet. And then we have April 11th, 2024 at 9 a.m. and then July 11th as well at 9 a.m. Will be the next two advisory meetings.
And does anybody have, from the committee, have comment they'd like to? If not, we'll be adjourned.
I would just like to thank the staff for this. I know it is tedious, but I think it helps us in our review. The other thing that I would like to say is going through, these annual reports, I picked up this flyer from Holly Hill, Pictona, not one mention of Echo. We have $2.9 million of Echo money. Not one mention of Echo, not one logo. Same thing with their flyers. We need to take care of that.
Yeah, that is a good catch. Okay.
Long
That it?
day.
Yeah, it was a long day. I appreciate staff, all the energy that you put into this day. I appreciate members who came prepared. It was a long day, and I really think asking the council to do two sessions would, and I don't know how staff feels about that, but for us and for the applicants, I think it would work better than just always doing just one. But we'll talk about that. We haven't voted on that issue, but we will talk about that. Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.